Welcome to the Beats and Balance podcast, a space for conversations at the intersection of creativity, healing, and community. Each week, we sit down with artists, healers, and everyday people to explore stories of transformation, resilience, and the ways we use creativity to survive and thrive.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Beats and Balance podcast. My name is Tinora. In this episode, we're joined by Dr. Nakeisha Owens-Griffin, a lifelong educator, public speaker, and a fierce advocate for foster youth. With over 27 years of combined experience in education and child welfare, Dr. Owens-Griffin has trained teachers, school leaders, and community agencies across more than 200 institutions, and her impact continues to ripple through systems that often overlook our most vulnerable youth. As an education consultant for the state of Tennessee and a former middle school teacher and professor, her work is rooted in service, equity, and deep commitment to children in state custody. She's also a two-time author, a proud member and president of her Alpha Kappa Alpha chapter, and a powerful voice for resilience and community leadership. In this conversation, we talk about what it really means to advocate for foster youth, how to build equity and education, and how personal pain can be transformed into purpose. Dr. Owens-Griffin shares her own story of overcoming adversity, raising two daughters, and staying grounded in her faith and her mantra, bigger and better to come. This episode is a tribute to advocacy and action and a reminder that with vision, care, and grit, we can reshape the systems meant to serve us. All right, so let's get into it. Dr. Owens-Griffin, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you with us. And let's dive in. Talk to me about your background, how you got into education and foster care and youth. This is a big topic for me because my mom is actually adopted and my grandparents had a bunch of foster kids. So I know a lot about how that in fact impacted my family. And my mom is actually a lawyer and she works representing parents in the foster care. So we have a lot we could talk about. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, my background pretty much started, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I got into college and realized it wasn't my path. So I did a few things around healthcare. And I was working in a rehabilitation center and I came across a speech pathologist and realized that there was an education piece. So I tacked on to that, then segued into substitute teaching and fell in love from there. The rapport with the kids and just being able to impact them. And so I went on further, got my certification in education, degree, license. And so that's a little bit about where I started with education.
Mm-hmm.
Taught middle school, my favorite. I cannot do baby.
I feel like that's rare. My family also, half my family, they're all teachers. And I feel like middle school is always the one that's like, you got to be brave.
You have to be brave, I'll tell you. But a lot of people like the little kids. And then there are those that like high school. I like high school, but I wasn't certified in high school. So I was in the middle school and I just fell in love with it. What I realized about elementary, I have to have people that understand my humor and they're not there yet. Middle school, they know how to kind of go back and forth with you. So I did that for about 8 years, had an opportunity to become an education consultant, which is my current job for the state of Tennessee. And it was just such a nice blend for what I wanted to do. And I took a chance, stepped out on faith because believe it or not, it was almost $14,000 pay cut initially. Wow. Yeah. And so I said I had to pray about it. I went to my pastor at the time and we were in prayer and he said, God said it's going to be a good thing for you. And I'm like, ooh, really? Is that true, God? $14,000. And then by the time we went through the bargaining and I went ahead and accepted, it got reduced down to $6,000 or so, which I was like, okay, I can make that up. And amazing. So, yeah, it really was. But I'm going to tell you the miraculous part about it. I don't know if it was because the insurance was higher or something about the education world was way more expensive than the state of Tennessee because my first paycheck, even though I had a $6,000 decrease annually, I brought home $100 more.
Isn't that wild how that works? I will never understand taxes in this country because that to me is wild. But that's amazing. I think that I think that says something to your commitment to your passion for it. Because like most people, I feel like would hear $14,000 pay cut and there wouldn't be a prayer or a question. They would just be like, no, there's no way. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
have to really be passionate about what you're doing. And I think that that's a testament to your character, which is amazing. And also middle school is middle school is the worst time for me. I feel
Middle
like for a lot of people. So
school.
like I know the teachers for me in middle school were the ones that really, they save your life. Like you're going through all those hormones and so
Oh
many
yeah.
changes. So
Yeah,
kudos to you for
I
that.
say thank
Um,
you.
so how did you get into the foster care aspect of it and dealing with foster youth?
Well, the job that I left education for was as an education consultant for the state of Tennessee, but it was through the Department of Children's Services, which is the foster care gatekeeper. And so I was like, that's interesting. But even though I would be doing education related things, it was for foster youth. So that's kind of the blend. I'm not a social worker, don't have a social work background, but I worked for a social work agency. And what I found was my skill set, just my natural, normal day to day self was beneficial for what I was asked to do. Going in, advocating for foster youth, sitting in on meetings, ensuring that their education is being met and that they have all the wraparound services, they're being treated fairly. I was like, it was such a great opportunity. It didn't even feel like a transition really. And so that's how I got into it with foster youth. And so additionally, my mom, she never had foster kids, but she was always one who used to say, I feel so bad. I think I might do that, anytime she saw a child on television. And
Mm-hmm.
so she just grew up with that heart, and she too was an educator. And I grew up with her taking my clothes to school to give to the children, or her taking care packages and soap and deodorant. And so I grew up with that mindset, with just a heart for children, and it just worked out beautifully. So I'm thankful, and I believe it. God had a plan the whole time. So
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like you were primed for this role.
yeah.
I think it's super important. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that foster care is a deep and can be a very dark place. And so to
Hmm.
work in that system and to be able to maintain like kind of like the disposition that you have, I feel like is also a testament. And especially because you're in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know about the foster care system in New York and New Jersey, which
Oh
is
wow. Yeah.
much different than down south, I'm sure. There's all kinds of different funding and I'm sure everything works differently down there. And I know it's a struggle for folks up here. And in New York City, I had a
Hmm.
friend that was working in foster care, one of my partners, and they have a lot of funding and a lot of resources. And I was kind of blown away by how much like these foster cares, like the kids were able to pay, like they paid for their college, they pay for them to have
Oh yeah.
health
Oh
care
yeah.
and all those things all the way through. So
Yeah.
it can be like a really beneficial program if you can work it. And if you also have like caring foster parents and a good support system,
Yeah.
there are benefits to it, which is something that I didn't really realize. Like I grew up kind of thinking about like the negative side of foster care, but there are
Hmm.
like beneficial programs and things.
Oh yeah.
Is it the same
Absolutely.
in down south?
It is, and I'll tell you one of the, if not to make light of anyone's situation, but one of the running jokes that we have is that even if you're in foster care, one thing you're gonna come out with, you're gonna be healthy and you're gonna have fabulous teeth because they have the best insurance. They make sure that they stay on top of those dental appointments, those medical appointments. If there's any type of issue, there's mandatory follow up, and so that's one piece of it. But like you said, additionally, there's services and benefits that they can access outside of it. So, I mean, it's not, can't make up for all the trauma, but it is a nice way to kind of subsidize and look at how can we support you through the trauma. So yeah, there is a lot of funding. I will say they get a stipend, foster parents get a stipend, and of course you have those that are in it for, say, the money, but by and large, I think our foster parents, it just takes an amazing heart, as you know, to open up your home, your heart to those who may not even want to accept it or be able to even accept it at the time. They just want, someone to reach out and care, be there, and at least have a place to lay your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a big issue here across our state and probably nationwide. I don't know, but in our state, when we ran out of foster homes, if you will, or we had more children than we could place in a quick amount of time, we have a really good placement team that they do it sometimes in hours, which is really
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. They have that pool of people, but when they couldn't be placed and say the youth have to stay overnight until they find a permanent placement, we had a really bad case of students having to sleep in the office building.
Oh
And
no.
so, yeah. And so if they had to stay in the office buildings, the workers had to stay in the office buildings with them overnight, very uncomfortable, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And so through my sorority, I think a couple of years ago, I think 2023, we had an opportunity to do a service project where we raised sleep and care items and snacks for the youth. We had a goal of $1,908 worth of things. We raised over $10,000 worth of things in
Wow,
one day. Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
so they had sleeping bags and inflatable beds, and so it was a really good thing, and they had a lot of snacks
I'm
because
sure the
they eat
kids
a
love
lot.
that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
I mean, yeah, it's a rough situation to be in, but I feel like any little bit you can do to soften the landing for
Yeah,
them. I know my mom was signed up at one point doing training for like they have these emergency. So you're not like a foster parent full on,
yeah,
but like if they need the emergency placement for like a weekend or something.
exactly. And
Yeah,
and
and
you'd be
I'm
surprised how bad that's needed. Yeah,
yeah, I mention it like I'm saying I'm mentioning it just so people listening know that like if you're interested in fostering or helping out, there are other ways of doing it where you could, do emergency overnights. You don't have to commit to a full-on
absolutely.
foster parent situation. And also the kids do have these great benefits. So if you do want to help them out, you will know that their healthcare and their schooling and things like that can be taken care of. Because I know that one of the things that's definitely needed is better foster parents, like people that are
Yeah.
really in it for the kids. And I think a lot of people are turned away because they think, oh, it's going to be this much responsibility, or maybe I don't have enough money to support the kids. So for people out there wondering, there are ways to make it happen and to support these
Oh
kids.
yeah. We want to get in there and make it work.
Yeah. So tell me about your experiences. How has that shaped the way that you show up and advocate for foster youth today?
Honestly, I think for me, you know how as you get older, you start learning various things about your personality. Some of the things I think I've learned at now 52 is that I tend to be really empathic when it comes to people. So I feel situations, and I'm also an Aries, so I'm able to kind of turn on, turn off, if you will. And those two have actually served me well with looking at dealing with all of the trauma that I do
Mm,
experience without being able to like take it in, but still be able to advocate and feel for them. So I think part of what has shaped me is just my, ability to feel what other people feel, put myself in their shoes. And so when I think about what would I want someone to do for me when I don't even know how to tell you what I need, I just go in there and I do that to the best of my ability. I also try to look at whether I actually lay eyes on the youth or not. You'd be surprised with the role that I have. The case managers contact me about their a youth on their caseload that may have an education issue or something. I'll go in there and fight just as hard for that child and may have never laid eyes on them.
mm,
But the fact that he's in foster care or she's in foster care is enough for me. And I always say they're all our babies. I do this work with a counterpart, Kristen Harris, and the two of us cover all of Shelby County. And
oh
that is
wow.
over 200 schools that we have here. So we cover the entire county and we divide up the schools. And so in Tennessee, in our area, we have anywhere from 800 to 1,100 children in custody at all times, and a
Wow.
large amount of those are school age. And so they're in school, they're coming and going, transitioning, going from school to school. Schools don't always want them.
Mm,
And we get it. We come with a myriad issues, that they have to deal with, missing records coming at various times in the school year. And so when a principal sees that coming, sometimes they're not always prepared or welcoming, or, it's just human nature. You don't want one more thing on your plate. And so
mm.
we try to go in and bridge that gap, soften the landing, if you will, make sure they get placed appropriately grade wise as best we can, but every now and then, part of the advocacy role means that I have to put on a different hat, because what you're not going to do is embarrass this child. or make
Mm.
them feel even more unwanted. And we have encountered schools where we do unfortunately have principals and sometimes secretaries and guidance counselors who may not always be equipped to understand and have empathy. And so what I did, I actually just did a training a week ago. I do
Mm.
a training with school principals, secretaries, etc., guidance counselors. And what I do is I get permission from their admin. I start off by passing out trash bags, just the regular black garbage bags. And of course, they're like, what are we going to do? We're getting wet. Like, what's going on? And they
Yeah.
laugh. And, keep in mind, we're talking about principals, professional people who run buildings and things. So they have their little laptops, their coffee, their paper. They're ready for a workshop. And so I go in, introduce myself, start the training, and guess what I make them do? I make them be in foster care for a day. And so
Mm.
I make them pack up all of their belongings and put it in that trash bag. And I make them move around the room. Now keep in mind, they're already seated where they want to sit. They're comfortable and I make them pack up. Yeah, they don't like it very much because now they're like, okay. And then some laugh, some get it right off. But what I explain is, our youth oftentimes that's all they have to put their things in when they're moving from foster home to foster home. And the
Mm.
symbolism I always say behind it, imagine if somebody says everything about you belongs in a trash bag. That's a lot
Mm.
when you're dealing with a trauma. And so I don't want them to have sympathy for our kids, but I do want them to have empathy. And so that's what that workshop is designed for. So I make them move about 2 or 3 times. By the time by the time they're done with the third one, they are angry. I had some that were so disgusted, they didn't even unpack their bag like the last time.
Wow.
And it just really, they get it by the time it's over and they're really understanding of what our foster kids go through. Oh, and I make them do a pop quiz
Mm.
because they have an expectation that our kids are going to come ready to learn with good attitude. Our kids are just, they don't know what's going on oftentimes or new people. They're not ready to
Yeah.
learn, so
No,
it's a good
100%.
training.
That's great. I think I mean, it's wild to me to think that like there's people that would be so upset to be disturbed moving within a classroom, but
Hmm.
can't conceptualize like what it's like for these kids to have to like upend their entire lives, leave their family. You know what I mean? Like that to me
Absolutely.
is mind-boggling. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you live in a bubble your whole life and you never have to live outside of it or look outside of it and see how
Hmm.
other people are living, then I can imagine it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's wild. I'm happy that you do that because I think that is the number one thing that is missing in the world is empathy, right? Like
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
people could just look outside of themselves and try to understand the reason why things are the way they are and the reason why people act the way they act, I think
Hmm.
we could all get along a lot better.
Absolutely.
And foster care, is not a perfect system, but when you're working inside systems that are not perfect, the only thing that you can really do is make sure that you're making things better for the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you're doing. So I think that's really great. Talk to me about like how do you balance your service with your self-care? Because you mentioned being empathetic and not wanting to kind of like absorb all of the trauma around you so that you can continue
Hmm.
to do your job. So how are you able to do that? Like, do you have any self-care practices that you'd use or meditation, prayer?
Yes, I definitely do a lot of prayer. I do a lot of praying. I do what's called couch therapy. You know how when you go into an actual therapist, typically, how the old, proverbial couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a version of that for myself. And what I realized a long time ago is that I will just go and I don't care if I'm just staring off in space. I don't answer the phone. I don't check an email. I don't feel guilty about just, if I just want to sit on the couch all day and watch television or whatever it is I'm feeling or needing in that moment, I take it for me. I don't explain. I don't feel guilty about it because it's my therapy time and it allows me to kind of detach and not take on so much. And I just kind of naturally know when it's time. And then I'll emerge. My friends know they don't get offended. They used to, but if you don't hear from me for 2, 3, 4 days, sometimes longer, I'm gonna emerge just like nothing happened. So hopefully you'll still be good with it because I have to
Yeah.
take that time. Otherwise, I can't show up for people in the way that I want to. Not that I'm ever being fake, but there is a version of me that I always want to present to people because I never want anyone to be impacted by my mood. You know, I want to be able to be there for them in that moment. And so I take a lot of couch therapy. Believe it or not, I know this is going to sound really bad, but I am a huge gamer. So I love, I
That's not
know, right?
bad.
I
I'm not mad at
absolutely,
that.
yeah. So I don't really do Xbox, but I love PlayStation. So I'll get on PlayStation, play a little Call of Duty, you know, do
Get out of
this,
here.
that. Yeah. Oh, listen, I am very competitive. Remember, I told you I'm an Aries, so
Oh
um,
man.
I let out a lot of aggression on Call of Duty. So.
That look,
Yeah,
that's an actual tip right there for folks.
yeah,
Working out through your aggression through Call of Duty is real.
yeah.
I think it's important. I think like what you're talking about is funny and it's comical, but it's also revolutionary because for Black women, we're often not told that we're one allowed to relax
Absolutely,
or that we're allowed to have alone
absolutely.
time or private time. Especially like for me, I don't have any kids or anything like that, but if you're a parent, then it's like double fold. Like, how dare you take time for yourself? You got kids. And I think
Exactly.
that's how we end up in these kind of trauma spirals and cycles is because nobody's ever able to kind of take care of themselves, and then it just compounds and compounds. So I think that's beautiful. So you're saying that you do couch therapy, but by yourself, like with no therapist, just like you take you time. That's dope.
Yeah, I've oftentimes thought about, maybe I should see a therapist, but I think for me, because I'm also an introvert, I don't always, it might not be therapeutic for me in that moment. Maybe some of the revelations that come from it, but the anxiety that I might, gain from just that one-on-one interaction was odd about me. And maybe other people are like this. I can speak to hundreds of people have it actually brings me alive. I thrive in front of like an audience and doing
Hmm.
trainings. But one-on-one interactions, I get a little anxiety there. I think large part because as I've gotten older, I've learned to share more of myself
Hmm.
without, I guess because I'm also a people pleaser. And so a
Hmm.
lot of these ways I'm trying to transition. So when I'm engaging with a person, I'm trying to speak your love language. I'm not allowing you to give to me, if that makes sense. And so
No, I get that.
when I think about just engaging with a therapist, I think I have more anxiety, but I definitely think anyone who needs it should take it because my friends use me for talk therapy. They call me, oh, I
Sure.
got this issue. And what I found is a lot of times they don't really want my opinion. They just want a sounding board so they can hear
Hmm.
themselves answer their own problems. And so I'll do that for them, but I'm an internal processor. I usually will think through my own processes, come up with my own solution before I even contemplate sharing it out or even sharing with someone what I might be going through. That's just what has worked for me because I want to hear from God and I want to hear my own voice before I hear your opinion over
Yeah.
the subject
No,
matter.
that resonates with me. I'm the same way. Like I definitely advocate for people to use therapy and
Yeah.
meditation or yoga or anything that works for you. But I think it's also important that people can have their own ways of dealing with things and processing it at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the
Yeah.
same way. Like I'll disappear for a minute and nobody will hear from me. And by the time I'm back, I'm good and everything is straight. And it's no,
Absolutely.
offense or disrespect to anybody. But it's like I gotta sit with myself and figure out what's going on in
Mm-hmm.
here so I could show up right out there. And that to your like it's not a fake thing. Like it's not a performance. It's still that I don't have to perform.
Exactly.
Because if I wasn't doing that, then all you would be getting was a performance, and then you'd be seeing me blowing up like a volcano randomly.
Exactly.
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
And also the Call of Duty, like let the aggression out because
Yeah, you got to let it out.
we all have this anger building up, and if you don't let it out in a healthy way, then it'll come out sideways. So I think all these things are
Mhm.
super practical advice for folks. And also, people don't always have access to therapists. Like, let's be for real in this country. A lot of people don't have
Most
health
people don't.
insurance. A lot of people don't have job security. So
Mhm.
there's definitely no shame with figuring out what works for you.
Mhm.
I think that's huge. And I think for Black folks and for Black women, therapy can be intimidating for many reasons, right? Like
Mhm.
not always trusting other people.
Absolutely.
Some people have had bad experiences with the state and therapists in that kind of situation. So it might be
Mhm.
triggering for them to have to be in that situation. So It's definitely not a one size fits all thing. As long as you're taking care of yourself, I think that is key.
That's the key.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your mantra, right? It's bigger and better to come. Where did that come from? And how does that shape your outlook on the world?
Right. Bigger and better to come. I think pretty much summarizes my entire outlook on life. I'm a very optimistic person. Humor. Humor is very big in my world. A lot of my friends accuse me of always looking at the bright side, but that's my natural go-to. So I'm very optimistic by nature. And so no matter what's going on or what accomplishment has taken place, the idea of bigger and better to come, one keeps me moving forward and keeps me in a place of not remaining complacent with whatever accomplishment has taken place, but also just knowing that there is bigger to better to come if I keep my mind and focus in the positive. And what I've learned is I don't think I knew it before serving as president. So currently I am serving as president, and with any type of leadership role, oftentimes you can encounter the politics. You don't always get to just get in there and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a lot of politics. And I don't think I was prepared as much for how much people are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt people. How much people complain, how negative people are. I was not prepared. I thought everybody was living their life like me, like every day, every day's not perfect, but I don't complain. And so bigger the better to come was a mantra that I just kept putting forth with them, trying to keep everybody focused so we don't continue this downward spiral of complaining. And so what I try to build is a community of people, at least in the time period that I have them, that understand I don't want to hear all the ways why we shouldn't do something. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
have the mindset of all the ways we can make it happen. One, because you keep your mind positive. The negativity for me has been like the most draining. And so that took a little time for me to understand hurt people hurt people. Everybody's coming at different places and you have to meet people where they are, give them what
Mm-hmm.
they need. And I also was not prepared for the amount of people who just don't like you for no reason at all, just because.
Yeah. It's
Um,
not personal. That's
yeah,
projection, but yeah.
absolutely. I had to
Yeah.
learn it. So that was different. But bigger and better to come is really about just my outlook on life and always trying to keep people motivated to say there's more to come. Yeah.
I love that. Now you also talked about being a spiritual person. I think that also rings true to that when you're somebody that is connected to or listening to spirit, you kind of always have this voice in your head that's like, no, no, don't worry. Like especially when things are bad,
Yeah.
there's always something that's like, oh, don't worry, like something bigger
Yep.
is coming. So that definitely resonates for me. That's how I've gone through a lot.
I
Is like,
know.
well, we're at the bottom now, so it can't get no worse than
Nowhere to
this.
go up.
Yeah, so bigger and better be coming because there's,
I know.
so I love
Exactly.
that. Talk to us about AKA and your role with AKA. For folks that might not know that are listening, Alpha Kappa Alpha is a historic Black sorority, the very first one. That's what y'all
Yes,
love
yes.
to let everybody know. The first, my sister
The
is an
first.
AKA, my little sister.
So you
And
understand.
I was a cultured pearl in high school, an AKA cultured pearl, so baby AKA,
Love
but I did
it.
not. I didn't
Yes.
pledge in college. But I know y'all. I got love for
Come on
y'all.
over. Come on over.
I got love for the pink and green. I know y'all. But yeah, talk to us about that. I feel like when I was a kid growing up, and my mom had me at 17, and then she went to Howard University, so historically Black
Mm,
school. So I was on that campus with her as a child. So I kind of grew up in that
yeah.
uh seen and had that kind of very strong understanding as a little kid about how important it was to have these Black organizations professionally, culturally, community wise to kind of help you
Mm-hmm.
survive the structures that we're in that aren't always meant to keep you afloat. You know what I mean? Like as Black
Mm-hmm.
people, sometimes you gotta work a little harder and make sure you have a strong community to get to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
So how has that helped you in your life, your affiliation with AKA? Is there stuff that you guys like, have going on now that you want to plug and talk about? And yeah, just like what has that experience been like for you and what do you recommend to folks that are thinking about joining potentially?
Absolutely. I think for me, I too had like a high school affiliation where they had, a mentor group. And so that was my initial exposure. And being, an introvert and at the time kind of shy, it helped me to come out of my shell, allowed me to have a little bit of exposure to see what was I good at. Cause I can hold a note, but I'm not a singer. I
Mm-hmm.
can, I don't have two left feet, but I'm not a dancer. So I was trying to just find my little niche and see what talent that I had. So it allowed me that opportunity initially. Obviously, there's the idea of sisterhood and things for some. There's networking for others. I think for me, it was just being in a place, being able to contribute whatever it was that I thought was my gift or talent at the time with a group of people that seemed to appreciate it. And I felt like I was doing something because there was always some service project or activity or even if it was just, hey, we're doing this event, we need someone to help break down the setup or, I was contributing. And again, just growing up being a people pleaser, I just always want to lighten the load for those around me. There was plenty to do with Alpha Kappa Alpha. And then I ended up taking a little hiatus after I had my daughters and, life was life. And
Mm-hmm.
so took a nice break. It was a few years, at least about 10 almost. And then got back into it as a charter member for the chapter that I'm with now, Alpha Alpha Gamma Omega. And so that's kind of how I got back into it. And it's been nonstop since I would say 16. We started in about 2018, we were chartered. And so I just kind of moved through, the ranks, if you will, various committees. And so it has been a really beneficial experience for me in helping me shape what it is I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And then exercise that and just learning the ins and outs and refining me in that way and affirming me, believe it or not. And so it's been really, really, really beneficial. And so, my current role, like I said, as president has been really good as well because I've been able to represent on a different level and see, different views of how it all ties in together. Like you were saying about, just our reach and impact. Sometimes when you're doing the work and in the trenches, you don't get to see the panoramic view and the reach that you have. And so that's been really good. Alpha Kappa Alpha definitely is looking to, be of service. Most recently with the elections, we had a huge hand in that for obvious reasons with our efforts there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just been really fulfilling. And so I think because it's a 2 year term and I'm coming to the end of the 2 year term, and I'm thankful because it's been work, but I think it's just been a great experience for me. Alpha Kappa Alpha, they really strive to impact young women, but just overall mankind. And there's so many ways you can do that. So I've also enjoyed that because it has allowed me to express my creative outlets, put my creative spin on various things, but still meeting the mandate. And so under our current administration, that's why I say God is just, his timing is impeccable and he is a master orchestrator, if you will, because I always thought, okay, so what's my leadership style? I tend to be laid back. I'm an out of the box thinker. And I would make the fourth president with my current chapter. And the two before me, most furthest from me, they were very organized and things like that, and just very much so, traditional. The president that was right before me was as well, but under that administration, some type of way, a real mean girl code crept
Mm-hmm.
in. And it was very nasty, very destructive. When I took over, the international president's number one push, believe it or not, you wouldn't imagine, was impressing upon everybody the importance of sisterhood and being sisterly. And that's all I had been doing with the sorority almost the entire time that we were chartered. I was the chapter hostess. I was the feel good person and
Mm-hmm.
keep everybody connected. And so God just cleared a path for my strength and talent to be exactly what was needed in this time. And so it's just been a perfect bloom. I would encourage anyone thinking about any sorority or any group to jump in, even if it's just a medical professional group, get
Yeah.
involved because you'd be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that a lot of people don't realize how much service that these sororities and groups do and the history behind it, the
Yeah.
legacy that it I think for Black people especially because of our history being kind of stolen from us to have these organizations that have a long history. It helps you to kind of have that pride and that legacy and that
Absolutely.
history. I think the reason that and then there is the misconception or the stereotype of AKAs being a little bit stuck up and mean girl
Uh-huh.
and mean girly, and that's one,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that I didn't join when I was in college because I was afraid of that. Like, but to be honest, completely honest with you, I've not ever come across an AKA that has treated me that way. There is that misconception, but
Right.
every time, especially the older women that I've come across, they've always with open arms been like, "Girl, what do you need? How do you like? What can I do for
Yeah.
you?" It's always been this sense of like we have each other's back.
Mm-hmm.
If I name drop that I was a cultured pearl, or if I,
Mm-hmm.
even if I don't, they just see like a Black person and I'm the only Black person there, then it's always been all love. So I kind of have regrets about not joining. And also because I see people that I know now with the not just the networking in terms of having like somebody to help boost you in your career, but just having somebody you can talk to
Mm-hmm.
when things are stressful and you're dealing with trauma and
Mm-hmm.
other people in your job might not be able to relate to that. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think having that kind of community can be super helpful to your mental health because we are often
Mm-hmm.
out here struggling by ourselves. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so I used to be an AKA hater, but now I'm now now I'm completely turned over, and I have a lot of love for y'all and for all Black organizations that are building community and all organizations in general that are building community because I think that that is also what the world is missing is there's a lot of divisiveness, but we need
Absolutely.
more connection. So I love that. I love that you guys are staying active and doing all these things. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Is there anything that you have coming up that you want to plug? We could talk about all kinds of things, but I feel like the conversation has been so good.
Yeah, I think just for me right now, where I am is looking at ways that I can help others who may have experienced what I went through because, and then come out on the other side of it. I know we didn't really talk a lot about it, but like people would know I was married for 7 years and I had prayed to God for my husband and things like that. And I believed I was celibate. I mean, I did all the things and
Mm,
I was blessed to meet at the time a gentleman I thought was, good. We had a great marriage, rarely fought, and then all of a sudden things went left. And
mm,
he, cheated or whatever, went out, got married while I was still married to him. Yeah, we didn't get a divorce. So it was really interesting.
wow.
So he was living with another woman, left me with 2 kids. Just the way that I navigated through that and made it out on the other side. I chronicled those experiences throughout for years, and I finally put it in a book. Pretty much at the
Talk
point
to
of
us about your books. Yeah, because you're a two-time
yeah,
author. That's the one
yes.
thing that we didn't get into.
Oh, that's okay. The book that chronicled that situation was called "Insult to Injury," memoir of a Christian woman scorned. Because at the time we were both really into church, and he was a minister. We thought we had this great Christian life, and when he did that, it was really disorienting because I'm like, okay, wait a minute, God, I thought this was the person you blessed me with, and we're supposed to be living for you. So I had to understand that people are people, and while still being a mother, that I had to be and show up for my kids, and just wrapping my mind around how could this even happen. And I never lost faith in God and who He was, but I lost faith in what I felt God felt about me, if
Mm.
that makes sense. I
No,
knew
I
he was
definitely
all
get it.
powerful, but I was like, I thought you loved me better than that, God. Like, what happened? And so
Why did
I,
you do me like this?
you do me like this? Yeah. But that was the insult. I mean, the injury came. The bonus was, it seemed like from the point of time that we separated, he skyrocketed off
Mm.
success that I had laid the foundation for. And I'm like, oh, when is this punishment coming? I know they say be not envious of evildoers, but he
Where's
just
the
had
karma?
me. Yeah, where is but they're like, Clark, where are you? And so
Yeah.
I had to navigate through that. And so that's what that book is about, just talking about how I was able to do that. And that's when I really understood that I could get revenge. I could. I thought about it a great deal, but I didn't really opt for that. What I realized I really wanted was vindication. And I
Mm,
always say that revenge is what you do, the vindication is what God does. And I wanted
mm,
God to vindicate me in that time. And I also recognize that everything that you do, you sow a seed. And so I ain't want any more trouble. So
feel
I
that.
had to deal with him, them, the whole works of it. And it was so public. It was like everybody around me knew. People I didn't even know knew before I knew it type things. And
Wow.
just to deal with that humiliation and come out on the other side of it with a positive outlook is what that book chronicles. And then the second book was when I was talking about understanding how negative and hateful people can be, especially as you elevate in leadership and you seem to have something that they aspire to want. Even if you're not one who's lording that over them, it's just that spirit of jealousy. And so the guide is it's called the Ha Ha Guide, and it stands for Happy Ain't Hating and Hating Ain't Happy.
Love that.
And so it's a four-way, I call it strategy to shine in the midst of shade. Like, how do you keep yourself shining in the midst of people actively hating on
Mm-hmm.
you? And that can be tough. It still show up and understand that you are representing God. And if anything, you should be guiding people, to the
Yeah.
light, not jumping in the fire with them. So that's basically what those two books are looking at, and looking forward to it. So I got a
Yeah.
on TikTok and YouTube, but just mainly looking at Shine and be happy, people. God is good and bigger and better to come.
I had to, yeah. Now, and putting in perspective the story behind it and the bigger the better come on top of all of that you've been through. I was just thinking of the trauma of like day to day and working in foster care, but to have to deal with that trauma plus your own personal trauma,
Hmm.
it's even more kind of incredible that you're able to maintain this outlook. Which, yeah, I 100% like feel you in everything that you said. I think women have an issue with dealing with jealousy and also dealing with projection and not understanding kind of where those feelings come from. Like, why do I feel envious of this person all of a sudden?
Right,
Or not even
exactly.
maybe naming that it's jealousy. Why do I all of a sudden feel like I'm irritated with this person? And on the other end, it's like, why are these people all of a sudden being mad at me? I've been in
Exactly.
situations definitely where I've been in jobs where it's like the better I'm doing, the more I'm being treated poorly. And it's just like, wait, what?
Hmm.
Like,
Yes,
why did y'all
right.
hire me if you
Exactly.
didn't want me to do a good job? Like, yeah. So I think
Exactly.
those are definite struggles. I'm gonna have to buy your book so I can get some help on that too, because I I
I
feel like we're all
promise
going through
you.
that.
We are all going through it, and it takes. I talk about in the haha guide. My best way of dealing with that is I literally, if you heard the term tabula rasa, that idea of like
Mm-hmm.
clean slate. When I see, literally, I don't care what you have done to me. When I see the people that I know have actively said and done some things, I view them with a clean slate every time. It's just like nothing ever happened. I greet them, and it's not me being fake. That's the beautiful part about it. It's literally that I feel like if God can forgive, who am I? Who am I to
Wow.
hold a grudge? So, and some of them, believe it or not, I said I've turned some haters into fans,
Mm.
because they know and feel that I'm really genuine in what I'm doing when I'm engaging with you. And then some just hold fast, they're a little bit more stubborn, but I'll keep hope alive on them as well. But and it's not like I'm saying, oh, I have haters. I never even thought I had any until I encountered having something that other people want, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
Yeah.
those are my two books and my babies there, and I'm proud of them. But hopefully they can help someone.
No,
So
I think
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, you just helped me right now with what you just said because I'm like, yeah, that I know that term and the idea has always been one that I thought was great, but like not did I ever think about putting it into use in that way of like,
Yeah.
wow, like because I'm like, damn, like there's some people that I'm like, I don't know if I could do that,
Hmm.
but I think it is a practice to have because it's true, like nothing that anybody does really should affect you because it's not really about you.
Exactly. It's not.
And it can be hard to realize that. But I think that's incredible. Let me ask you one question. How do you
Mhm.
keep from being jaded? Like how do you keep from yeah, I guess being like having these experiences with people and not letting fear get in the way of preventing you from having new experiences with other people. and just kind of writing everybody off as being like, well, people are just terrible and I'm just going to stick to myself.
Yeah. I think for me, I had a friend that explained, you know how we always talk about emotional intelligence? And what I realized, I heard her say once, your EQ, emotional intelligence, your emotional quotient is equally as important as your IQ. And what I realized was that we just have a lot of people who don't have a high emotional intelligence. And, there's no, I'm not being derogatory, but I just realized that. And I realized that I happen to be one who does. And so I just try to approach everyone trying to see where they are on the scale and understanding that you never know what someone else is going through. Like you said, projection, it may not be personal or they may have come from a background where that's all they know. So I just take each person on an individual case by case basis, understanding that even if it is personal, that before I get ready to, click launch on my nuclear attack, I have to remember that it's a seed that's going to pop up somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have children. I have now my first grandbaby. She's 8 months old.
Oh,
And I just don't want anything to come back that's going to bloom that's not good. So I'm looking for good karma to come back, good
I feel
rewards,
that.
good seeds to blossom. And so that's really what keeps me from being jaded. Really, I don't take a lot too personally. When I feel like I'm getting to that point, that's when I do the couch therapy. That's when I'm on the Call of Duty. That's when I say I need to take a minute because I'm too invested. I found that I had a group, even, as president, you do want a group that's going to support you. And I had a group and, we'd be calling, did you see what they said? Did you hear what they did? And I started noticing that whenever I'm engaging, I'm doing nothing but complaining or talking about
Mm.
what someone did. And I said, no, I had to stop myself, break off that communication, not because of them, but because of who I was becoming. And so that helped a lot. So just know yourself and know your triggers.
Love that. Yeah. Very, very sage advice that I think will help lots of people. It's definitely helped me. It's like things that I know, but it's like, yeah, like I need to put into practice in these ways. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Because it can be hard out here. People hurt your feelings,
Yeah.
and it's easy to be like, all right, I'm gonna just go into my turtle shell.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's great, great advice to just meet people where they're at. Don't take anything personally.
Exactly.
Kind of keep it moving, and bigger and better to come, right? Like as you say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here today. It was a great conversation.
Absolutely. Have a great time.
Wishing you all the success and luck and good fortune for you and your family. Tell the people one last time, like your TikTok and your website where they can find you and your books.
Okay. TikTok is the haha guide. That's H.A.H. And I think that one is underscore H.A.H guide. And then the YouTube is H.A.H and it's hyphen H.A.H guide. So haha guide on both. And yeah, look forward to engaging. I'm not really into the content creation, but I just think it's time in a season where everybody just needs to raise their vibration and just love on each other. So that's what
Most
I'm trying to do.
definitely. Yeah, I love that. And we'll also put that down in the show notes so people will see the links. And we'll put your books
You.
there too so folks can go and purchase them and get right with their life. Um, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Beats and villains, we move with grace, healing in rhythm. At our own pace, our vibes stay sacred, our roots run deep. We rise and we